Chief Justice, Your Excellencies, honored guests, friends, good morning and welcome. Je vous souhaite un grand bienvenue à la Centre National des Arts ici in Ottawa. Welcome to the National Arts Centre and the start of the 150 Canada Conference. My name is Peter MacLeod and I'm one of your co-hosts, and gosh, this has been a long time in coming. 52 years ago, some 32 organizations came together, and in 1958 to begin a similar discussion. Their plans, visions, and more than a few crazy ideas began a legacy which shaped this country. No one asked them. No one gave them permission. But they were animated by an idea of what their country could become, and we know that you've traveled here to Ottawa to spend 2 days with us because you share with them that same restless desire that has always given shape in Canada to a better country. This morning, we start a big conversation. This is the first major event to begin imagining and planning the sesquicentennial, the 150th anniversary of Canadian Confederation in 2017. And so I want to start by dedicating this conference to two extraordinary people, Roby Kidd and Frida Walden. The longtime head of the Hamilton Public Library system, that was Frida, and the founder of the Canadian Association of Adult Educators, that was Roby. It was Roby and Frida who 52 years ago invited those organizations to Toronto and staged the first big think about what the centennial could become. Their genius was to imagine Canada's centennial as an opportunity not only to celebrate, that was easy, but to learn more about ourselves, our neighbors, and our country. And they taught us two important lessons. The first was that centennials belong to citizens. It was citizens that led the way to 1967, not governments or politicians. Canadians across this country made the centennial their own, and they hosted their neighbors and the nation with an inventiveness and a determination that at once celebrated the country and redefined it. The second was that anniversaries can be catalysts. They can expand our sense of public imagination and purpose. And this is rare because too often, I think, societies are forced to make their biggest decisions in times of crisis. But what we're talking about for the next 2 days is the exact opposite of a crisis. It is, as Roby and Frida knew, an important occasion to ask three very simple but powerful questions. And so, as at 100, so at 150. Where are we? Who are we? And just where are we going? So this is about thinking big and thinking deep. And it's about seeing that others have the opportunity to do the same. The job of this conference is to make up for lost time. Over the next 2 days, we are embarking on a crash course. And so, as you may already have guessed, this is not your typical policy conference. And I want to be clear about this. To start, we have 25 extraordinary speakers. This is a big, even ridiculous number for one day. But they are smart, good people who are going to fill our heads, challenge us, and work to get us all up to speed. And their job is tough. We've asked them to do the near impossible, distilling everything they have to say to just 10 minutes before introducing the next speaker and passing the mic. But this is how we're going to go. In 5 blocks of speakers throughout the day, we will, let me assure you, feel exhausted, but we're also going to feel invigorated. And questions. You will have questions. You will have comments. You will be burning to have your say, which is good. But know that today is cram school. It's about momentum, and we're all going to be gasping for air just to keep up. So we have 3 breaks and 1 lunch. So use this time to meet one another, to ask those questions, to have the face-to-face discussions with strangers who you will soon count as friends. And know, too, that all of this is a prelude to tomorrow, because that's when the real work gets done. In our minds, the success of this conference is always dependent on 2 things: One, our speakers. Two, our delegates. And in a few minutes, the speakers show begins. Tomorrow, we hand the reins to you. Together, we will work to get ourselves on the same page in order to write a guide that will help government departments, corporations, and organizations, and community organizations do the same and start to make sense of their own preparations for the sesquicentennial. And we're going to do it by answering 15 big questions and questions that you propose as well. But before we get to tomorrow, there's tonight. Cue turning over your name tag. This may be the country's first policy conference to have a rock concert attached. And I have two very dear friends, Dina Grazer and Joey Taylor, and our friends at the NAC and the NFB, who have helped to make it all possible. This is a one-night-only event, combining performances from some of Canada's leading contemporary artists, Julie Black, Radio, Sempre Yara, Dance, David Varelles, and mashups combining, wait for this, historic NFB centennial footage by one of Canada's most inventive Indigenous artists, bear witness. And when we put these tickets out to the public, they were gone in 2 hours. If today fills your head, tonight will fill your heart. It promises to be amazing. But I want to pause and welcome my friend and colleague, Gabriel Sekaly, the CEO of IPAC, your co-host for this conference. Gabriel.
Merci Peter et bienvenue à tous, tous les délégués qui sont venus d'à travers le pays pour partager ces 2 jours avec nous. Cette conférence évoque des souvenirs du centenaire du Canada. For those of us who are old enough to remember 1967, Canada's upcoming sesquicentennial promises to be Canada's next big year. And the Institute of Public Administration of Canada is proud to be playing a small role in launching this exciting journey. For this conference isn't an end. It is just the beginning of the road to 2017. For those of you who don't know, IPAC is the premier professional association of public servants from all orders of government across Canada, from coast to coast to coast, as well as academics and students of public management and policy. Since 1947, we have espoused and promoted what is best about public service. Through our 17 regional groups, we bring together public servants to learn, to network, and to debate issues facing public service in Canada and around the world. For us, imagining and planning how Canada will mark its sesquicentennial is as big an idea as you're likely to find. This project exemplifies the creativity and entrepreneurship that we think Canada needs and that ought to define a 21st century public service. We're delighted to play this role for this conference. We think it is important and appropriate that the public service help hold the space for this conversation amongst Canadians. And we are going to be the champions for the sesquicentennial and the opportunities it represents to Canadians. Before we begin, I would like to thank our partners who have played such a key role in making this conference possible. I don't think there's a Canadian left who didn't notice that little banker in the bowler hat who cheered on our athletes during the recent Winter Olympics in Vancouver. But supporting Canada and cheering on Canadians isn't new to RBC. They've invested in building this country since their founding. They played a significant role in 1967, spurring corporate Canada to think big and backing big ambitions, and we're very grateful to count them as our signature partner for this conference. We'd also like to thank Open Text, a company from Waterloo that exemplifies the spirit of innovation and competitiveness that is powering our economy and bringing Canadian ingenuity to the world. Je veux aussi remercier l'Office national du film du Canada ainsi que Bibliothèque et Archives Canada, 2 institutions publiques qui partagent le mandat de recueillir et de préserver le patrimoine du pays et de le rendre accessible à tous les Canadiens et Canadiennes. Their enthusiasm for this project has been infectious, and we deeply appreciate their interest and support. Finally, we'd like to acknowledge media assistance from 3 Canadian publications, Metro News here in Ottawa, which will be working with us to bring this story to many more Canadians in the months to come, as well as to the Literary Review of Canada and to the Walrus, 2 of this country's must-read magazines. We have a lot of work to do over the next 2 days, but all of us here at IPAC and at Mass are keen to roll up our sleeves and get it done.